Good morning, everybody. I know we are actually still waiting for one more person that I know is joining us who is going to lead the first part of our session. So while we're waiting for her to join, I do want to welcome everybody to our Illuminate session here in January. I appreciate everybody joining us. I want to open the floor just for a minute to let you all share any news of a personal nature or even a professional nature that you would like to share with the group today. So the floor is open for anybody that wants to do any quick sharing of things that are going on in your lives. Maybe you've had a new baby or a grandbaby or something exciting has happened in your 4-H program that you want to share. So the floor is yours.
Tanisha Armstrong is new. Tanisha, would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tanisha Armstrong, and I'm new. This is my first Illuminate session. My first day of working with North Carolina State University was December 1st of last year, of course. So I'm just very excited about the new position and everything that's in store.
Tell them where you're located.
Excellent, Tanisha. Yeah, Tanisha is in Pitt County.
Pitt County, yes, I'm sorry I didn't mention it. Pitt County.
We are excited to have Tanisha join us. I've spent some time with her going over some of the youth curriculum, and I know she's going to be a great addition to our program.
Well, thank you.
I see where Arnetta has written in the chat box that her daughter is going to have a baby girl. So congratulations on that, Grandma. I know you're excited. When is the baby due? Due in June. That'll be an exciting time for you. Other news? I see some people are writing in the chat box. All congratulating Arnetta. Just a reminder, if you're not talking, to turn your microphone off. Helen, any update on Zandra getting on the system? Do you know anything else? Oh, Helen just typed. Zandra should be with us in just a minute. Okay, that's who we're waiting on. I will apologize in advance. I still have a little bit of a cough going on. I was out sick the whole first week in January, and I still have that residual cough. So if I cough in the microphone, I apologize in advance. I've got my bottle of water here trying to keep that down. Did everybody receive the email and update in your Teen Cuisine book the link for the knife skills videos? If you did, if you received it, can you give me a check for yes, please? Okay, if you did not, make sure that you go back and look for my email. It was back earlier this week that provided you with a new matrix for lesson 1. Well, the actual email has the matrices for all of the lessons, but all you need to do is reprint lesson 1 matrix and replace it in your Teen Cuisine notebook. If you don't and you go in to use that at a later date, you will have a non-functioning link to those knife skill videos. Has anybody used those videos, and what's your experience with them? Sarah hasn't used them yet. She's going to start a group next week. Renee, is that a yes that you've used them? Okay, good. Use the knife demo in class. Did they enjoy that? Did you find it useful? Evelise, go ahead.
Suzanne, I cannot write on the chat. I don't know if it's on or off, so I wanted to ask.
Try that.
Nope.
Try it now.
That's okay. I can just raise my hand and talk.
You are chat enabled, so I'm not sure why you're not able to write on it.
That's okay. Don't worry.
You can share verbally.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I haven't used it because they were not enabled, but I have used another video that I found about knife skills.
Did you want
And although they don't do knife skills at the school because of security reasons, they were very interested in. So I guess now when we can access it, they will still be interested in learning how to cut things and the foods, etc.
Good. I know it is a challenge when you're working in the schools and trying to work with the knives. Don't forget that you can use the lettuce knives, which are plastic, so you might mention that to your schools, that that is something that you can use.
Hi, this is Zandra.
Hi, Zandra. Thank you for joining us. Are you on teleconference?
I am. I tried to do through the online. It wasn't working, so I thought, you know, no need to waste more time. Sorry to be so late.
That's okay. We've been having a discussion. Evelise, go ahead.
Oh, this is just Lisa. I was just going to point out that for those schools that don't have internet and you can't access the videos, you can always download them. You just need some kind of, yeah, you need to have They have it online where you can convert a YouTube video so that you could download it onto your computer.
Excellent. Great point. Thank you. Sarah says she's demonstrated the knife skills with the adults, but we use the videos and plastic knives with the after-school group. Helen suggests you can also put those YouTube videos on a flash drive if you need to. Good point, Helen. Thank you. All right, so Zandra has finally joined us via teleconference. So let me introduce to you Zandra Alford, who works with our Voices in Action program and is also, over the summer, served in Lee County, sort of in an EFNEP, 4-H EFNEP PA role, doing some work there. And Helen Herrera, Helen, are you still actually with us, or are you just joining us for today?
I am taking notes.
You're here taking notes. Okay. Helen worked with this project that Zandra worked on some last semester. So she's just serving as Zandra's backup and note taker today. So Zandra is going to lead the first part of our session, which is she is doing some investigating into gardening. That's the hot topic right now, is gardening and youth gardening and youth nutrition education. So Zandra, I'm just going to turn it over to you for you to do what you want to do. And you can take till about 10 o'clock if you need to.
Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne. And I want to apologize for everyone for being so late to the conference. I did not intend for that to happen. So thank you guys for being so patient on having me join you. So we do have a couple questions today regarding gardening curriculum. And first off, I just off the bat want to see if any of you have done any EFNEP gardening curriculum, currently in your county or in the past, any at all.
So if you have, go on and put a check, and we can call out to her.
Okay, thank you.
So we've got a couple of people who have put a check. We've got several X's, so more X's than checks at this point.
Okay. So for those of you who have done a gardening curriculum, can you share with us your names and counties?
My name is Sarah Freeman. I work in Transylvania County, and I help out with the Soil School curriculum, which is for 3rd grade. I also have a locavore cooking club where we have a garden, and we use that food for our after-school program. I've helped with the garden at the Boys and Girls Club and used food from that. And I've done some with the old Junior Master Gardener curriculum, as well as some materials from ASAP, Growing Minds program. I'm trying to think what other curriculums I've used. All right, that's what I've got.
Wonderful, thank you.
Zandra.
That's very exciting.
Hey,
Hi.
Zandra, it's Judy Ardita. How are you? You're probably already aware that
Good, how are you doing?
Good. We have a gardening curriculum in Gaston County called Harvesting Healthy, and actually we developed it several years ago, and it's basically just for 3rd graders. And the program assistant does the nutrition part of it, and then they have master gardeners and some AmeriCorps folks that do the actual gardening part of it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else on the call who's done any EFNEP gardening curriculums, the nutrition gardening curriculums in their counties?
Zandra, I don't see anyone else with a check. Arnetta Wilson up in Warren County chatted that she has done farm tours, so I've asked her if she could tell us a little bit about her farm tours. I am waiting to see if she's chatting or not. In the meantime, Evelise has raised her hand, so let's hear from Evelise.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello?
Is you Elise talking or?
Hi.
Oh, this is Arnetta.
Go ahead, Arnetta.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
What I did this summer with in Warren County and Franklin County, I collaborated with the ag agent, and we did farm tours. We took 12 children in Franklin County to 5 different small farms, which they call them backyard farms. And we also took them to the governor's mansion, where he has a farm outside a small farm outside his yard, or wherever they call it. And in Warren County, we did the same. So the kids was very excited, and we had really a lot of fun and learned a whole lot. I learned a whole lot. So it was very exciting.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Hi.
Great. So I think that's everyone. Oh, go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Oh, this is Arnesia in Gifford County. I did do a farm tour with our ag agent and one of the farmers in High Point with the middle school at Wellborn Middle. It was 40 kids, and they basically like only 2 of them that had been to a farm before. So it was a really good experience for all the kids. We do an EFNEP garden here at the office in the community garden, where we use some of the produce for the adult program, but we haven't transferred everything for the youth program. So I'm still working on that. Me, Evelise, and Medina. Okay. So it's just the beginning.
Wonderful. That sounds very exciting.
Sarah, go ahead. You raised
Is there anyone else?
your hand.
I also have been able to do some farm tours for 4-H, but also with one of my EFNEP groups. I had 2 first-grade classes that were with a charter school, and so one of our lessons, the fruits and vegetables, we went to the farm and we gleaned produce for the area soup kitchen, and we did a farm tour.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anyone else who has?
Yeah, Zandra, Renee, good night. Okay, Renee, good night. Says in Cabarrus County this summer we toured the incubator farm there.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, so I'm going to move to the next question, I think, because is that everyone, Suzanne, who has responded positively to having done a gardening or farming related curriculum?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. So my next question is, for those of you who have done a gardening curriculum or things related to a gardening curriculum within the EFNEP programming, can you tell me about how the idea came about to do a gardening project, and how did you start working with the school? So particularly for those who were, doing gardening at the school, or I know someone mentioned at the after-school clubs, or Boys and Girls Clubs as well, and even with the farm tours in terms of how did you connect with the schools you were working with to do that. So if you can tell me a little bit about that.
Go ahead, Sarah.
As Judy mentioned, the 3rd grade core standards really do pair well with working with gardens, because they have to learn the 6 plant parts, they have to learn about soil. So it works out, and just the life cycle of plants. So it's really easy to get in with the 3rd grade teachers to be able to do that portion.
Okay. And how did you, just to follow up on that, how did you start that connection with the 3rd grade teachers? Did you already know people in the schools that you were working with, or how did you start that whole conversation? So that question was for the last person. I believe your name was Sarah, who answered in regards to working with the third grade groups.
Sorry, could you not hear me?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah, so the relationship was already setting up as I joined EFNEP. I was a master gardener before the relationship was set up with master gardeners, 4-H agents, and then EFNEP.
Okay.
I also have a locavore cooking club that is through 4-H, so a lot of the connections, it helps to work through 4-H to do that.
Wonderful. Okay. Great. And for others, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. For others who have done gardening projects in their counties, how did the idea come about for you to do gardening projects, and then how did you get started working with the schools that you were working with, or the clubs, if it's after-school clubs or boys and girls clubs?
Zandra, I'm not sure how the whole idea came about in Gaston County, but the master gardener at that time and the CED and I believe the FCS agent started making contacts in schools to see who was interested, and I think decided on the third grade, as Sarah had mentioned. And I forget how many schools we have now, maybe about 10, and we have about 10 other schools that are interested, but we can only work with what we have because of, our staff issues.
Right, okay. Well, that's great that there's so much interest. How about for others who have done gardening curriculums? How did you get started and connected with the schools? Is there anyone else who wants to share on this answer, or was that the...
Zandra, I think that's probably it. I think probably everyone else who had responded really didn't work in a school setting. Arnetta, can you tell us a little bit about your group that you worked with, that you did the tours?
Well, it was 4th graders. It was a summer program. We just toured, and we bought fruits and vegetables from the farms that we toured, and we came back to the office and did we did keep the kids in the kitchen curriculum, and we just cooked whatever we got from the farms. That's how we did it.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. And for others too, I know a lot of people mention connections with like the farm as well. If you want to share in terms of how you got connected with that, or how you started working with, and I mean, as well, if it's not a school, if you were working with an after-school project, you can share on that as well, just how you started that connection and how you started, the interest in gardening or getting out into a garden or farm with the kids. Was that everyone then? Should we move to the next question?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So my next question then is, what curriculum did you use and when did you implement it? And when I say when did you implement it, I mean in terms of like what time of the year, and also what time of the day. I know some people mentioned after school versus in school, so those two time periods.
This is Judy. Ours is, hey Zandra, ours is implemented during the school day, and the nutrition part of it is in September through end of October, November, and then the garden part takes place, and then the second semester the garden part takes place first, and then the nutrition part takes place like March to April.
Okay, wonderful. And then, so it's completely during the school year. There's no summer activities going on, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And did you mention which curriculum you use, Judy? You had mentioned it's Healthy Harvest, correct?
Yes, and it's one that was developed based on, I don't know if you're familiar with an old curriculum we had called Professor Popcorn, so it kind of follows that, you know, the way that curriculum unfolded. And so we do, like the first class is My Plate, and then we do, you know, fruits, vegetables, milk, you know, protein, etc. And then we do 6 sessions, and we make sure that the evaluation questions match up with what is in the curriculum, and we do have some little cue points we put in there. So when the people are delivering it, because we do have some AmeriCorps people that do some of the delivering, that they know to mention those points that, you know, match up with evaluation questions.
I see. That's great. Thank you. And Sarah, how about for you with the gardening curriculum?
So Sarah's been typing in the chat box. So she says during the school day from September to April, they do something called Soil School. During the summer, they use Junior Master Gardeners. And also during the summer, she has written ASAP Growing Minds, and I'm not sure what that is. Sarah, maybe you can elaborate somewhat. Also, they use Kids in the Kitchen with 4-H after school.
Yeah, so if you haven't gone on the ASAP, it's ASAP, but Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, they have a Growing Minds site. A lot of it is based toward preschool, but they do have some great resources. It's out of Asheville, but I would encourage everybody to look at that site because they have curriculum that is tied to certain vegetable products, books, you know, all kinds of great little things, especially for the young kids.
Okay. Wonderful. That's great.
Sarah, can you put the link, the web link to that in the chat box for us?
Sure. Let me go find it.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you.
All right. And then I know those are our main gardening curriculums, but if anyone wants to share about when they implement the farmer tours, that would be helpful too.
Go ahead, Guilford County.
Yes, I wanted to ask, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to ask if anybody has had or has done any gardening nutrition programs in urban areas, big cities, and what they have used.
Great question.
I'm not aware of anyone that's done anything in an urban area, Guilford, Mecklenburg, Wake, even Greenville. I'm not aware of anybody doing it there yet. There may be some, and I'm sure there are some across the nation, but not here in North Carolina.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, though. Is there anyone else who wants to share on this question about curriculum or implementation timing, or should we move to the next? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next question then. So for those of you who are doing gardening curriculum, how did you incorporate gardening into the curriculum, and did you work with anyone to help with the gardening? I know some of you have mentioned master gardeners, so if you could tell us about that. And when I say, incorporating the gardening into the curriculum, I know a lot of times, even for curriculums that are written for gardening, it doesn't necessarily give you a how-to with how to implement the gardening aspect when you're actually out in the garden. So if you could talk.
Again, ag agents, 4-H agents are great helps. Master gardeners are great helps. I also found this book. I think it's called Gardening with My Plate or My Plate. I don't know. Let me go find the book and I'll put that up there. And that's a good resource as well.
So Renee typed in the chat, for urban areas, what about vegetable container gardens at the schools if permitted and funds were available? And I think that is a great way to start doing gardening with children, is in containers. Yeah, Helen agrees that would be an awesome opportunity and a way to approach gardening. Gardening does not have to be in the ground and doesn't have to require a lot of digging, a lot of tools. And containers can be made out of a lot of things. A lot of things can be recycled into containers. So keep that in mind as you are looking or thinking about expanding your program into maybe adding in some gardening. It can be a very simple container garden, even just herbs. That's a really great start and an easy thing to grow for children. Sorry, Zandra, didn't mean to jump in on your thing, but I did want to respond to that.
Zandra, are you there?
Have we lost Zandra?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I don't know why my phone did that, sorry. But I was just saying, no worries, Suzanne. I think that's a wonderful point to add in, and thank you for adding that. I believe it was Renee who typed it in. You said thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a great option for, to think of in any setting, but particularly when you don't have a space for a garden or even the staff to kind of maintain the garden as well, because it is a commitment if you do it in the ground as well. So thank you. So in terms of the last person who spoke regarding, I believe it's Sarah, who was talking about her curriculum, can you tell us a little bit about how you did incorporate it in? And when I say incorporate in, like if you're using, for example, the Kids in the Kitchen curriculum, or if you're using, any curriculum that's out there, how did you bring the gardening aspect in? Like when did you do the actual gardening pieces and how?
So if it's a summer program or if it's here, we usually have a portion of our club meeting time out in the garden because we're lucky to have one right outside. So we either harvest or plant or maintain, and then we come inside, use what we've harvested, and then cook with that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And then, Judy, did you want to add anything about how gardening is incorporated into the curriculum in Gaston County, and also who they're working with to help with the gardening, if anyone?
Well, they have their Master Gardener Program Assistant, who's part of the Gaston County office, and she does some of the classes, and then they have an AmeriCorps person who does some of the gardening, and then usually it's the EFNEP person that does the majority of the nutrition classes. And they have actually put together a manual that that takes them step by step or lesson by lesson through what they're doing for the gardening each time they come to see the students, and then how the EFNEP lessons how the EFNEP lessons tie in is when they talk about the vegetables mainly that are grown in North Carolina, and they usually try to choose vegetables that you know, according to the season. So they have, you know, the fall vegetables that they plant, and then they have the winter spring vegetables that they plant, and then they tie those in as they're talking about vegetables in the lessons, and then they actually do food tastings with those vegetables. And if those vegetables are not ready to be harvested, we just purchase them. They just purchase them at the grocery stores if they were, and and then the ones that when they are harvested, usually they give them to the students and our teachers to take home.
So Judy, do they do both gardening and nutrition at every class session, or are there class sessions that are dedicated specifically to one or the other?
No, it's just gardening. So the first part of the well, in the fall, nutrition comes in and EFNEP does nutrition first, and then they do the gardening. And so they're separate, and they're done by different and they're done by different people.
Okay, I see. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have anything else they want to add to that question?
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and move to the next one then. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have so many questions. I wanted to ask Julie, in that program that they do in Gaston County, what is how many minutes they have for the lesson so they can do nutrition and gardening, and also if they could share that with the other units, so then we can use it as a guide for whatever we want to develop in the different other counties. It's a two-part question.
All right. Well, they get between 30 and 40 minutes, depending where they are. And let me just add this too. Each school, each classroom gives about up to $75 to this program that is used to actually, you know, buy the seeds and do whatever is needed to do with gardening. So that's a nice chunk of change, and then the PA can also use that money to buy some extra food and things. And as far as using that, I could talk to the CED. I don't think that it's been shared. I don't think like it's some big secret and they wouldn't share it. And they're very proud of it because it really is quite an accomplished, you know, piece of work. But I could talk with them. We actually have a new PA in that county that's going to start on Monday, so I'll be spending a lot of time there. So I'll visit with him and see, A, if it can be shared, and then B, if it's electronically that we can send it out.
Great. Thank you for the question too. It's good to add on those things as well. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead then and move to the next question, which is, what did the kids think about the gardening programs? If you could tell us a little bit about what they liked and what they disliked about the programs that you've done in gardening.
With the gardening programs that I've worked with, the kids seem to be more inclined to try something that they've had a hand in growing. Also, there are a lot of kids that respond a lot better to or respond well to hands-on experiences, and so kids that don't necessarily shine in a regular classroom setting really do well in a hands-on setting.
Great, thank you. Any dislikes that you want to add in there too?
Not that I can think of. I'm a plant person, so I like being outside and gardening.
Okay, great. Well, wonderful. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you. And Judy, how about for you? What are the kids that you're aware of? What are their likes and dislikes with the programming in Gaston?
Well, I've only heard positive things, and from both sides of the fence.
Okay.
And Lorraine, who was our PA there for several years, had an office full of thank you notes from the teachers and from the kids who just thoroughly enjoyed the nutrition part of it as well. The same schools want this program back year after year after year, and like I say, there are several other schools out there that are kind of on a waiting list. So I've not heard anything negative, and everything I've heard has just been very positive, and it's been very well received.
Wonderful. Well, great. And then now, kind of along those lines too, can you, and we'll start with Sarah, can you tell us about the successes, like the biggest successes that you've experienced with the gardening programs in your county?
Again, it's along the same lines I just mentioned. There were a class that was especially difficult behavior-wise that really excelled in the garden. When we were churning up compost, a lot of the boys that were sometimes out of control were really, really engaged, really interested in all the bugs, loved doing that physical work, so that helped a lot.
Wonderful, okay. And Judy, how about for you? What are the biggest successes out of Gaston County's program that you've been hearing about?
All right, I'm going to speak to the nutrition part only. We hear lots of times that the kids, you know, they're not only trying the vegetables, but that the teacher is commenting that they're actually eating the vegetables on their plate in the lunchroom.
Great, okay. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
And then how about challenges? And Sarah, can you tell us what are the biggest challenges for implementing these programs have been for you?
So one of the biggest, everybody wants to have a school garden or likes the theory of it, but the biggest problem that we find is that we don't have any year-round schools, so the main part of the growing season the garden is abandoned, and so what we've had to do is actually use an off-site garden and have third graders go to it, which works out because they can walk to this place, but the master gardeners maintain it year-round. So a big problem with instituting an actual school garden is maintenance and upkeep. Everybody's gung-ho the first year or two, and then it dissolves.
Okay, thank you. That's a great point. And Judy, how about for you? The biggest challenges that you've heard in regards to implementing this program in Gaston?
Well, besides what Sarah's just mentioned, scheduling can really be a headache because we're talking about going into a classroom 12 to 14 times. So you really, you really have to have dedicated teachers to work with, that will allow you to come in and then to work through, the scheduling issue. But it works.
Right. And to clarify, that's right. But to clarify, that's also because you guys are doing each session, like you do a whole set of nutrition sessions and a whole set of gardening sessions, right? That's why there's 14 total. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Great. And then, Sarah, do you have that similar challenge, or do you guys do you do more nutrition and gardening simultaneously, or do you have the same issue with having it be separate sessions and having multiple scheduling issues?
So it's handled separately. I go in and do a set of EFNEP sessions, 6 weeks, and I just get in when I can. But the soil school aspect is once a month all year through. And so then we just remind and you know, introduce nutrition topics as we're in the garden.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Do you find that it's hard to get the commitment of time from the teachers, or people are just really excited about it at work?
It's definitely hard to get the time commitment, especially once you get into 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades at certain times of the year, especially prime growing season. They're worried about end of grade testing.
Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, and then what would you do differently? And we can start with Sarah again. If you were to, and I know it sounds like you're continuously implementing these programs, but do you have any feedback on like changes that you would make?
Changes that I would make to the programs that I'm using. I wish that we're able to do this with all schools really right now because of the issue of maintaining a garden and then finding that support. We're only able to do it with one elementary school because the other elementary schools don't have a garden nearby or are willing to keep up a garden on their property.
Hello, Judy, can you hear me? Did I cut out?
Yeah, you did cut out. Well,
okay, sorry about that.
I don't really have anything to do on the gardening end of it, and I'll probably have suggestions when this new PA starts, or we'll just, it's easier when you have a new person to kind of maybe change up the activities a little bit. So that's just something that we'll do.
Okay.
We'll do together, once she gets involved in the classroom and stuff, and we can see what hasn't worked as well, or, maybe bring in some of these new activities that have been in some of the different curricula that we've been looking at.
Okay, wonderful. And then, Sarah, do you want to just go back to what you were saying about not, having the garden or the capability to be near a garden in every school? I know you mentioned that as being one of the biggest challenge, or a challenge, and then something you'd like to see done differently. What would be your suggestions for addressing that? Have you guys been trying to think through ideas of how to bring it in, maybe with like containers or things of that nature? Or what are your thoughts there?
We actually haven't tried to expand the program to any other schools because the volunteer support that's needed is pretty much maximized out with just that one school.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, thank you to both of you for the specifics on your programs, and to the others who shared about their farming programs as well, and the farm tours. For the last few minutes that we have left, I do want to open it up to the group in terms of, what concerns do you all have as program assistants with EFNEP for working with garden-based education in your counties? What are the concerns that, you might have desire to do that, but what are your concerns with actually doing it? And feel free to share, anyone who wants to share.
Go ahead, Evelise. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, there I think there are a few things here in urban settings that we probably are looking at. First of all, like Sarah said, maintaining gardens in school because the kids are not there the whole year, number one. Number two is funding for the materials also, because we really don't, I don't know the other PAs, but we really don't have time to go look for grants, because our job is to see certain amount of kids, and that's what our time is consumed, or is for. So looking for funding or grants, etc. And the other thing is, for example, some people like it, but I don't have, and do them themselves. Well, I have a cement thumb. I will kill every single plant if I go and plant with the kids. So we have to look for people that can work with us in our schedule, not their schedule, and also schools that will allow us to be from September to April. Sometimes we hardly can get their 6 or 7 lessons. You know, Les is going to be being such a long time out of school in an urban setting, working with different with plants and nutrition.
Right. Those are great points. Thank you for sharing that.
And then,
does anyone else want to share their concerns?
Melanie says finding the time, volunteers, and money resources that would be needed. So time, volunteers, and money needed.
Okay, so finding volunteers and money and resources?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else want to share concerns?
Well, Zandra, I forgot to mention that Gaston County has had a hospital grant, you know, to fund their AmeriCorps Food Corps person, and, you know, to help also with some of the funding of the supplies and stuff. So they've been very fortunate, and I think this is like the 5th year they've had this grant.
Okay. Wonderful. Good to know. Does anyone else want to share concerns before I move to the next question? Okay. So this leads us to the next question, which is, what kind of support would you need if you were looking to implement these garden-based nutrition education programs? What type of support would you need in order to do that? What comes to mind for y'all? I know people have mentioned funding as, a support, and also the need for collaborations. What type of support would you need to, get funding support, or help with looking for funding support, or, help build the collaborations? What do you see as need that could be something we could help with that?
This is Melanie Cashin, and I think, just like Ivy said, we don't have the time in our schedule with having to fit our numbers requirement, the numbers of kids that we see, to be able to do this. So if we really had to start doing this, we would need major support to help enable us to spend the time with that number of kids. I mean, in other words, we wouldn't be able to see anywhere near the number of kids we see now and do this much of an in-depth program with them, because we just wouldn't have the time to get all the lessons in and to get everywhere and do gardening too. It would just, plus the resources of money and all of that other stuff that would go along with it. But the main thing is that we just wouldn't have time staff-wise while maintaining our current number load of kids, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. That's very helpful. Anyone else who wants to share on that? Okay. And I just have one last question before we close this, and I hand it back over to Suzanne. But what kind of school-based groups would a gardening intervention work best with, in terms of, for those of you who have already done it, do you find that there's any specific like school groups that works best, like, you know, after school versus in school, or I know people had mentioned third grade as a good one, but also for those who haven't implemented this, you know, is there any groups that when we've been talking about this come to your mind? Is there anyone who wants to share on that, or and it's okay if you don't as well.
I think just going back on that, looking at the standards and trying to find a way that that program can fit in, and then it's an easier sell to the teachers as far as time. So that's why third grade works so well. With fourth grade, sometimes I use the USDA or the NCDA ag sheets to talk about North Carolina products and use the availability chart from them so they can look at seasonality. So trying to find a way that it ties to some of the other core pieces helps a lot.
Okay. Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else want to add there? Or is there anything anyone else wants to add at all about our conversation today? Okay. All right, well, I want to thank you all for your time. And for my part, I just want to say we are in the process, for myself, and we're working with a student intern from Meredith and also some student interns from A&T University as well to implement a gardening and nutrition curriculum in a middle school in Lee County. We're actually working in Sanford. And so we're doing it in an after-school program, and we've been very blessed in the school that we're in. Is very supporting, but you know, I definitely hear a lot of the concerns about, you know, the lack of time and support, especially depending on where you're working and, you know, just the needs of the school and such. So as we get further in our project, I'll report back to you all about you know, what we experienced too. So we just started last Wednesday, so I don't have much to report at this point. But all right, thank you, Suzanne. I want to thank you for letting me take some of your time, and then also I apologize again for being so late to the meeting.
Thank you, Zandra. We enjoyed your joining us. No problem with being late. We all understand the intricacies of dealing with our technology. Some days it works and some days it's not as nice to us as others. But we do appreciate you joining us, and we do look forward to hearing what comes out of the work that you're doing in Lee County and how we can translate that into our EFNEP program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you all again. It was a pleasure to talk to you all today.
Thank you. Have a good day. Okay. We've got about 25 minutes left of our time. At this point, I want to turn the microphone over to Tony Benavente, who's going to share with you a little technology tidbit.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Well, I just wanted to share with all of you that you know, there's a little change, and I think it's a good change in WebNears. I know that some of you have contacted your EAs to print out your youth group checklist summary report. In case you didn't know what that is, that's basically an impact report for each of the groups that you work with. So if you haven't heard about this report, I think you'd be happy to know that this report does exist. And again, this report was created was added to WebNears based on each one of you, your feedback that you've provided us, and I made the request with WebNears developers to include this report. So we are listening to you guys, and I hope that this report is useful to you. It's based on what you guys recommended that should be there. So in addition to this particular report, there's also a change in the way you'll be able to access WebNears. Once you log in, and I think most of you, except for maybe Unit 5, I'm still working with the Southeast, trying to give you all the permissions. But for most of you, if you log into WebNears, you'll notice something different. You should be able to see, the manage, this one that's called, wait, let me just get to that real quick. If you open up WebNears, there's the Manage Youth Groups option that's up in the top that used to be grayed out. Well, that should be blue now. And when you click on that, you'll be able to see your groups and be able to also click on the Youth Group Checklist Summary Report option, or for you to print it. I created a cheat sheet for you, and I'm sending it to all the youth PAs.
Tony, I'm sorry, can you share your screen and show us what you're talking about?
Sure.
Or share that application? I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Give me a second.
Sure.
It's been a while since I've been on Blackboard. Give me a second here.
Hey Tony, this is Emily. For some reason, you didn't have the sharing option. Now you do. So if you were having trouble, try again.
Okay, thanks.
We'll give Tony a minute. There he goes.
Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Tony, we can, but there seems to be a box covering. Yeah.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, as long as you don't have the Collaborate meeting covering it, we're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is, thank you, Emily and Suzanne. Okay, so this is how your screen should look like. Well, for most of you, if you open up your WebNears, if you click on the Manage Youth Groups link here, Rhonda, I hope you don't mind, but I've been using your county as an example. But if you click here, you'll see that you see all your groups and also all the number of youth and the number of entry and exit checklists. But here, most especially I'd like for you to pay close attention to is the little printer icon right here. If you click on that, then what happens is you'll see this report, and this report will have all the impact information or impact data for that specific group. So in the past, I believe your EAs used to print this for you, but now each of you should be able to print this particular report. Do you guys have any questions? Again, I'll send out the cheat sheet, so that you guys can use it to access these reports.
So I have a question for the group. Penny, if you'll leave that report just up there on the screen for a minute. What would you see would be a way that you could use a report like this? Just jump on in. You don't need to raise your hand.
Suzanne.
Uh-huh.
This is Yvonne. I've used it for my grant information. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous for the violent people here in Edgecombe County. They love seeing these statistics. I'm actually doing a 6-month report right now, and I pull my information from them. So it's really very helpful. It helps the folks out when they take a look at who they want to allocate money to. So I use it. I use it a lot.
Excellent. Great use of that report for that.
Suzanne?
Yes.
I think it can also be used as a follow-up for your partnering agencies if you are beginning, or even if you're not beginning, and you bring that to a teacher or an after-school program director, and they can see the benefits and how those benefits, are measured, then they can really see the value of your program, and then you would have a long-time partnership. It will reinforce a long-time partnership. And even if you have new programs, you can show that to new partners and show them so they can see how our program can affect their population, and then it can give you an entry door to new programming.
Thank you, Evelise. Perfect. Mary Davis typed in, use it for putting some statistics in her success stories, and Shalina Bonner wrote for her Vidant grant and success stories. I'm curious, how many of you, if you'll give me a check or an X, how many of you have used reports like this with your program partners? Check if you have, and an X if you haven't done that yet. Okay, great. A lot of people already using them, some that haven't yet. I hope, though, that this will encourage you to use the tools that you have, the information that you have. Even if you don't have the ability to print in color, that's okay. Print it in black and white. The partnering agencies are going to be most interested in looking at the numbers that are on that sheet. The colors really don't matter to them. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, as Tony said, he is going to send you out a little reminder sheet on how to access this and get it printed off, just in case you don't remember. So that'll be coming to you via email. Tony, is there anything else that you need to share?
Not at this time, but if any of you have any questions or need assistance with this, please don't hesitate. Just send me an email or give me a call. I'll be happy to help.
Thank you so much. Yes, Evelise.
I know this is available probably for the 2015. If anything for the 2016 year enter, or is available already for the new groups from October?
We do have some. We do have records being entered already for the youth. For youth, so it's moving along. We'll be caught up hopefully within this month, within February. So yeah, you should be able to see some already coming in for 2016.
Tony,
Yes, ma'am.
Its webinar is up. It's working right now. I was just trying.
It should be working.
I'll check a little later.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you sharing that with us. One thing that I did want to share with you or remind you about is the 4-H EFNEP time and temperature documentation chart. As you're working with your classes and you're transporting food, don't forget that you do need to complete that time and temperature chart for each lesson that you are providing food, whether you're making food on site or you're carrying food there, and that should be turned in with your group records upon graduation. So if you have not been doing that, I'm going to ask you to please start doing that. If you're not familiar with it, talk with your EA. The chart can be found. Thank you, Tanisha. I will send out just via email the chart again, and I'm thinking, I did not look, I'm thinking it's also available on the website, but I'm not going to say 100% for sure on that. But I will send everybody another copy of it just via email. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, you answered part of it in that I wondered if there was an updated one, because the one that I have it's a lot of Professor Popcorn recipe.
So maybe we do, because what we've done is it's not recipe specific. So what we've done is divided the chart into just dairy recipes in general and listed the types of foods that might be in that. Your fruit juice concentrates, fruit recipes, my pyramid type or my plate type recipes, it really should say, and I'll make that change. Protein foods recipes, vegetable recipes. So kind of tried to lump the foods that you might be transporting and preparing by types of groups rather than specific recipes, because we have so many different curriculums and so many different recipes. So rather than being recipe specific like the adult time and temperature chart is, it's more food type specific.
Well, with that, I mean, in some ways, if we're not able to really prepare at schools, could we just write the name in and then leave the office temp, the temp on serving, and just do it that way instead of having specifics?
Larly, you want to jump in?
Ty, I'm going to have to ask you to restate the question.
Yeah, because instead of having to be specific with writing down the actual recipe on your worksheet, what if we just had a table where there was a place to write in the food, a place to write in the temperature upon leaving the office, a temperature upon serving the food, and the time. Instead, just making a small spreadsheet that does that. The other thing real quick is I've noticed or I've heard that NC Food Code is more interested in the internal temperature of the food from the refrigerator rather than the refrigerator temperature. And I'll stop there.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for that great question. It was actually a topic of conversation we had this past week with the EAs about how we make this an easier process. And so if the group agrees that this would be an easier process for everyone involved, I'm totally in favor of that. We can create that documentation to assure that you are not liable for anything should anyone get sick and blame it on the food. You would have documentation that would protect you. In terms of the refrigerator temperature, I will tell you the reason that that is there. And yes, we are more concerned about the internal temperature of the food. But the reason that the refrigerator temperature is there is so that you check the refrigerator temperature that you're storing food in from time to time to make sure that it is reading correctly. Sometimes we lose food because the temperature of the refrigerator is not calibrated correctly, and so it will not cool the food properly. So that was just sort of a reminder. It's kind of like, I don't know which ones of you might have gone through the training with us, where we had oven catastrophes at Wake County, and the ovens were either reading something like 50 degrees above or 50 degrees below what they said the temperature was. And so it's just to protect you in case of a situation like that where you have a refrigerator coolant that, or the whatever it is, coils have gone bad, and you know about it as opposed to not knowing about it. So I guess my question to the group is, do you like Sarah's idea? And if you do, I'm sure that Suzanne can create a chart that will be as simple as what you've done with your matrix.
Sarah, it sounds like you've got a great idea, and if you could mock up something to and share that with me, and then I can take that and make sure it has everything in it that we need from a liability standpoint, I'd be more than happy to do that. Okay, thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it. Okay, just a couple more things on my list to talk about. The April unit meeting, excuse me, the April unit meeting is going to be, in your units will be 4-H youth specific, and during those unit meetings you all will be experiencing food preparation from the curriculum that we will distribute in May, the Camp Cook Play curriculum, because we will not have time, nor do we have the facilities during the May training to do this type of food prep. So just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that that will be your April unit meeting training, will be food prep centered around the Camp Cook Play summer curriculum, which you will receive at the May training. Also, I know we talked in the past about the grade 3 workbook, and we were anticipating it being ready around this time. And I would love to tell you that it is, but it is not. It will be, we're anticipating it to be ready probably towards the end of spring, so it will be available for your use next fall. I'm sorry that we just could not get it finished, edited to the designers and to the printers in time to get it out for this school year. We're also hoping, if things go well, that we will also by next fall have the 4th and 5th grade workbooks ready. So I apologize that you do not have them for this year, but when you get them, I hope you'll like them. Questions on that? All right, we have about 3 more minutes. I'd like to open the floor up just for any other questions that you all may have. for any of the state staff, Tony, Emily, Laura Lee, or me. Okay, I'm hearing no questions, no comments. So,
Suzanne, you have a question
okay.
in the chat box.
Oh, I didn't see it. Is the temperature chart for raw vegetables or cooked or both? It's for anything that has to be carted in a cooler, kept cold, and definitely cooked food. So anything that needs to be kept on refrigeration and anything that is cooked. Okay, our next Collaborate is April 29th, the same time, 9 o'clock. I will ask, I'll just put this out there for you all, are there any burning things that you would like to see us address during that session? Right now I don't have a specific topic. I will by then. But is there something specific that you would like us to present or share during that time that you're interested in? Okay, not seeing anything now. Sarah, I see your note. If you do think of something later, feel free to send it to me via email or give me a call. I appreciate everybody being here today, and you all have a great rest of the day and a great month, and we'll see you all in a couple months.